there is a whistleblower, a would-be whistleblower, an alleged whistleblower on 4chan, which is a very trustworthy website where I get the vast majority of my information from, and it never fails me. It never lets me down. And so when I see a man, that is all satire. I don't take anything from 4chan. I take it all with a grain of salt. In fact, I'm not even too sure how to navigate the website, much to my detriment when trying to understand this story. I couldn't figure out how to follow the thread, and eventually I did. But the story goes that there was a whistleblower. He is releasing a very similar type of footage. And in this one, you can see things a little bit clearer. I believe there's an airlifted aspect, but more importantly, there is a finding of an egg in a cave scenario. And the internet sleuths have done their due diligence. They've compared and contrasted the various photos to determine that there is a cohesion. There is a continuity from one photo to the next. They are, in fact, in the same location, because in a world of AI, who knows, you could generate anything. Right. It's not that hard to generate an egg in a cave, if we're being honest. But the thing that AI does not do is continuity. One photo to the next will be different in many discernible ways, even if they are seemingly in the same location, because it's not real. Among the egg, there was also a alleged stasis bed. Now, this is being described by this, like I said, would-be whistleblower, some sort of military clearance, tasked with retrieving this egg from a mountainscape, a cave within it. And in the photos, you can sort of discern the egg and what would be the stasis bed for an entity. Now, this is an anonymous story on 4chan, so take it with a grain of salt. Right. But the timing and the ways in which it interacts with this narrative that's unfolding leads me to believe that there's some veracity to it. And I don't know if it's part of a larger deception. Just because you're being shown something does not mean that it's true inherently. It could be, a sort of a false trail to go down. But there is a tall Nord in a stasis chamber, and there is an egg, which upon further examination is covered in runes of sorts. Now, these runes have been discerned to be what's called, I think it's a hierarchical glyphs or hierarchical alphabet. And basically what that is, it is a language that was unique to the priest class of Greek and Egypt, or Greece and Egypt rather. And so, interesting, but a bit of a dead end there. And the entity that is in the stasis chamber is described as a tall white Nord, which, if anybody is familiar with the various alleged ET species out there, the tall blonde Nords are one of them. And so this is what they claim to have found. Now, I'm not going to go too deep into the story because I have no way of verifying it, and I don't know if any of this is true. And it gets wild very quickly because this being wakes up and has a dialogue with the people that are sent to retrieve the egg. One thing leads to another. It disseminates some pretty critical information. The idea that we were created by a race of aliens, which this is very much kind of the Sumerian Anunnaki narrative. Those beings created us as a slave race, and that they are more or less evil. And these other entities saw fit to intervene on our behalf and to also accelerate So what happened is, allegedly, I don't believe this, these entities that created us would have augmented us from early hominids. And then we were augmented further by these other entities who intervene on our behalf. Right. A lot of things are said in this strange dissemination. Among them is one of the closest times we ever came to knowing God was when we were studying the Hermetic texts, I believe is what it says. And Hermeticism is the basis for the New Age movement and Gnosticism, among other things. And so I believe that there is a lot of validity in these teachings, but they are fundamentally flawed in that they are geared to deceive you. Right. In particular about the nature of your creation and the nature of God. But we'll get into that later. So this is enough for me to see all these connections and go, there is something well beyond a strange coincidence. Yeah. And it doesn't mean that any of this is true, but somebody wants you to see this. So what ends up happening next is I come across a video of a guy who's been studying this Orphic egg thing. And he is showing an image above somebody's house. We just had this New Jersey drone incursion. Among many things within the drone incursion were orbs and undulating plasma, things that people described as looking like the wheel of Ezekiel from the Bible. there are a plethora of different atmospheric events taking place that you can find all over Twitter. They're all over Twitter. They started about the midpoint of or the beginning of November, and they've persisted for some time. They died down, they reemerged, and among them, like I said, is a body of many different sightings. And so they've been well out dismissed as just drones from private collections,
right,
and also drones that were approved to be in the airspace at the time. This is what the Trump administration has told us recently.
Right.
I don't believe it at all, but these things are seemingly connected to that. Now, what this person sees and what he's describing, to go back to this Orphic egg thing, it is a glowing orb with a glowing band wrapped around it. And it is also undulating and sort of pulsing within itself. And he shows me an image, or shows the viewers an image of the Orphic egg. And if you guys bring that up, it is essentially just an egg that is wrapped up by a serpent.
Yeah.
So
do you want to, can you real quick explain what that is?
Oh yeah. Now, this is a wild symbol, and I'm almost ashamed that as long as I've been in this, I never paid this its due diligence. So the Orphic egg is something that, or the serpent's egg, is something that's found in the creation mythos of many pagan societies throughout history. And it's the same story. It has to do with their creation mythos, and there's very slight variation from one culture to the next, but essentially it goes, there are primal, chaotic, or primordial waters. That is all that exists in the universe. And then through whatever series of events, an egg is birthed from that. The egg cracks open, and a series of things takes place. Either the egg cracks open and the egg itself becomes the firmament, and the lower half with the yolk becomes our realm, you know, Earth and these different subterranean levels. Or a deity is birthed from the egg, and then that deity creates the Earth in the same way. Or the other variation is the deity comes out and through an elongated process creates a bunch of sub-deities, and one of those deities will create it. Now, for example, in the Vedic religions, there's a mother deity. I think it's Amma might be the name of it. And it births two twin boys. The first twin boy tries to speak our realm into existence, which is an interesting thing to try to do, because in Christianity, God creates everything with the word.
That's right.
But this entity finds that it lacks the words to be able to do so. So its twin brother, I suppose, successfully creates this realm through alchemical means, meaning it identifies the rudimentary building blocks of this situation and then manipulates them one way or another and creates this realm. So this is something that you will find in Greek mythology. This is something that you will find in Egyptian mythology. This is something that you will find in the Vedic mythologies, so on and so forth. In fact, I was shown recently by my boy Donut. Shout out Donut. He is a great researcher. And what he showed me was something called the Ancient and Primitive Rite of Memphis Mizraim. And it is essentially a Freemasonic ceremony. Now, if anybody looks this up, Ancient and Primitive Rite of Memphis Mizraim, my mistake, you will get an image of an egg surrounded by a serpent. The egg is winged. Beneath it are waters. And within the egg are a bunch of really important symbols. So just to describe it, once again, I said that in these creation mythos, there are chaotic primordial waters, and that is depicted in this image. Birth from this egg is, birth from these primordial waters is this egg. So this is essentially not only a creation mythos, and these things do go hand in hand, what I'm about to say, but it's also order out of chaos, which is something that the mystery schools hang on to. When I say mystery schools, I mean like Freemasons and OTO and things of that nature. So inside this egg, the symbols that you'll see when it comes to the Ancient and Primitive Rite of Memphis Mizraim is the compass, the Masonic compass, the Parthenon, a symbol for Rosicrucianism, a symbol of a gavel for law and order, Jacob's ladder, which is the symbol that they associate with achieving different levels of enlightenment along their path as a Freemason. All of the symbols inside the egg are indicative of order. So on its face, there is chaos, and out of the chaos, this egg is birthed, and within the egg are all the tools that you need to create order out of chaos. So This is, and then of course around the outside of this symbol, by the way, the ancient and primitive rite of Memphis Mizraim is a serpent eating its own tail. So it's there. It is the serpent in the egg right on its face. This is a symbol that's associated with Freemasonry. This is a symbol that's associated with the creation mythos of all these different pagan mythologies. This is an incredibly important symbol. So I don't think that it's just about eggs getting stolen, dude. I don't think it's just about eggs being expensive.
So let's get, if everyone watching allows us to continue indulging into connecting these dots, it is also the year of the snake.